Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another fantastic episode of 15 Minutes of Fandom. That's right, that's where we put the spotlight on our fellow wrestling fans. So, with that being said, in the first corner we have the Monarch of Mardi Gras, the Baroness of Bourbon Street. When she is not co hosting Ringside Society, she's on crazy misadventures, such as dressing up as one of the Road Warriors and picking fights with random strangers, trying to join Cobra Kai, and going back to 1885 for freshly churned butter, Louisiana's own Kathy Knight. And in the second corner, we have the greatest thing on God's green earth. No, we're not talking about money, Mary Jane, or Popeye Spinach. He's the tranquil dart of Ringside Society and Delaware's greatest American hero. And he recently made his debut at 1CW last night. Delaware's greatest American hero. It takes two to make a thing go right. He's Rob Bass, and you are not. And the last corner we have that ocean crossing, straight up Boston, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always on the go. Catch him if you can. Said his name in Guyana. Now they love him in Japan. No cap, the worldwide star boy, Remy Blue. And our special guest tonight is a man who hails from the Lone Star State, Texas. That's right. But even though he's in Texas, he's traveling to different indie shows just because he loves pro wrestling that much. Everybody, welcome to the show, Justin Ruff.
Thank you. And thank you for meeting with me outside of your normal hours. I appreciate you all doing that.
Hey, no problem, man. I mean, when our last guy canceled, we're like, man, it just doesn't feel right. I mean, that spot could be used for some fan that we can actually talk wrestling with, put the spotlight on and all that. So
Awesome.
really and truly, thank you for actually, giving us the opportunity last minute because I know it was like barely 2 hours when we actually contacted you. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how's everything over there in Texas?
All good here. I like to say that Texas is a really good, big hotbed for indie wrestling right now. So it is very lively. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to be.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. Like I've seen some of the shows that even Kathy goes to because she's in Louisiana, but she drives 5 hours to go to Reality of Wrestling or Vixen Wrestling Revolution and New Texas Pro, and I'm like, man, you so lucky, man. I mean, I'm not too jealous now because I'm in New York now, but before I used to live in like Jacksonville, North Carolina, I was like, man, they ain't got nothing over here, man. All they got are like woods and deer and all that stuff. Like, there's no wrestling over here, you know.
Crazy.
But
I was behind Kathy in a show once, or in line to go into a show once, and I thought I recognized her because we share the love of Rachel Rose, who's one of Texas's hottest talent. She's kind of like the Roddy Piper to Roxy's Hulk Hogan, and I was like, oh, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I've seen your tweets. I think I know you from the internet. And then the other thing is like, I'm a 41-year-old white dude. The last thing you say to a person who is there by themselves is, hey, I recognize your tweets from the internet. So I didn't say anything to her, but yeah.
Well, I always say, like, if you see me, come say hi. And I kind of knew, I was like, he looks familiar. And I was like,
Yeah.
yep. And then later on, I was like, yep.
yeah, so I was like, when I saw you, you actually followed us, and I was like, okay. And I was like, he's in Texas. I wonder if Kathy knows this guy because for some reason, when we have people for 15 minutes of fandom, she's like, oh, I know that person. I'm like, darn it, Kathy, like, why didn't you tell me? Like, you got to tell me who you know, because that way I can have them on the same time with you and whatnot, So they'll be even more excited because it's Kathy and whatnot, like she'd wait till after the show and she'd like, or she'd wait until we announce the show and she'll be like, oh, hey, I know that guy. And then the guest would be like, yeah, I wish you were on the show. And then she's like, yeah, I wish I was too. And then I'd feel bad, like, man, Kathy, you gotta tell me this stuff, man. Like real talk. So I kind of played it smart. I was like, okay, you're in Texas. Kathy probably knows this guy because she travels to Texas a lot.
Yeah.
And then she's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, good. I got you this time. So yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right about Rachel Rose though. Rachel Rose, I've been watching her since Reality of Wrestling when she was a referee,
Oh
and I
yeah,
was
that's old school.
yeah. And one of the things that we do here is we also interview referees. I mean, we interview referees, ring announcers, managers. It doesn't matter. We interview them. So because everybody around that ring has a part to play, so why not
Yeah.
interview everybody that's playing their part?
Yeah.
So yeah. But I just gotta ask, man, how'd you become a fan of the sport? What was the pay-per-view or the event that made you become a fan?
So I didn't grow up with wrestling, but Saturday morning I was kind of phasing out of the cartoon phase, so I was trying to look for something else to do, and I found there was the 1 hour recap of Raw, and then there was a WCW show. I believe the WCW show was before the 1 hour recap of Raw, and I would watch that on Saturday mornings. So that was kind of my thing that I would do on Saturday morning. So I started watching wrestling in 1996, so just before WrestleMania 12. The WWF really wasn't what drew me in, but WCW definitely was. And I know that his legacy is very, very complicated, but it was in the middle of the Ric Flair, Ric Flair, Randy Savage feud when Woman and Miss Elizabeth were both managing Ric Flair. And so that's what really drew me into wrestling, is that feud. And Ric Flair would defend the title like 5 times a week on every show, and he made whoever he was wrestling look like they were going to beat him for that show that night. So you could be watching WCW Pro Saturday morning on TBS, and he made hard work Bobby Walker look like he was going to walk away with the World Heavyweight title. That's just the kind of wrestler Ric Flair was. And you thought, is this episode of WCW Saturday Night with Sergeant Craig Pittman, is this going to be finally the night that Ric Flair loses the belt? And he always made somebody look like they were about to beat him. And it was a very compelling thing. And the person who ended up beating him for like the first big title change I remember was a guy by the name of the Giant. So I'm old. To where he was the Giant back then. But yeah, so that's what drew me in. My first live event. Oh, and so when I discovered this is kind of at the beginning of the Monday Night Wars, and so I discovered this wrestling thing, and I wanted to really dive into it. So I pillaged my local Blockbuster and watched all these different shows, and that's just spent a lot of time studying the history. And then my first live event was in Fort Worth, Texas. There was a WWF house show, and the main event was Bret Hart defending his belt against The Undertaker. And in the match, a brand new character made an appearance. They kind of did a run through of the character. This guy's name was Kane. The IC match was Owen Hart defending the belt against Dude Love. So I can say I got to see Owen Hart live. And so it's just, I fell in love with it kind of almost immediately. And then I really don't watch a mainstream product anymore. I just kind of just do the indies, because I'm that one guy who just, I don't, I'm very hipsterish, I guess, when it comes to my wrestling. I don't watch that product. I haven't watched the WWE in about 2 years or so. And I usually only watch AEW if big things happening. Like I watched the night that Nick Cage wrestled Jericho, and I watched the CM Punk return. But I really, that's time that I spend on AEW and WWE and Ring of Honor and anybody else's time that I could be spending on an indie show, and trying to watch that and figure out and study who else is going to be the next big thing.
Yeah, WWE, in my opinion, the product has gotten. I mean, okay, so my opinion is Raw is the main problem. Raw is the stale product. That's the one thing. SmackDown is good. NXT 2.0, I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, it's kind of growing on me, but that's just my opinion. They have a
Yeah.
great set of guys and gals there, so there's nothing wrong with NXT. The main problem is Raw, and I think once they fix that problem, they should be good. My opinion, what they need to do is get rid of that third hour. Dedicate that third
Yeah.
hour to something else. You don't need to have a weekly episodic show that is 3 hours. No, if that's a pay-per-view, fine. It's a pay-per-view. There should be no reason why any promotion has a weekly episodic show that is 3 hours. I've never there's no and I could check. There's no and I watch a lot of wrestling. I watch stuff like OVW,
Right.
Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Championship Wrestling from Arizona, all those, and none of them have had. Most of them have like 1 hour.
Yeah. 1
Some
hour is
maybe
good.
2. Yeah, 1 hour is good. Some might have 2, like AEW and Impact and so on. That's fine, but there doesn't need to be a 3 hour thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That 3 hours is pretty difficult to sit there.
Yeah, and they don't need to have. I like what they're doing with WrestleMania. They got smart because they figured that after that one WrestleMania that was 8 hours, which I also thought was ridiculous. They were like, we got to dial it back, and they did 2 hours, which is fine. But the thing is now with the way they're going with these releases, are they going to be able to fill both days? Because they just released like 11 people, 2 or 3 of whom could have been main event caliber. It's ridiculous.
You know, those releases really hit me pretty bad because I remember Athena back before she got signed and became Ember Moon, and was always really good with my daughter, and so watching that really affected me. And then I remember the first time I ever saw Keith Lee was in a sweaty gym in the middle of December in like 2011. And I said, holy crap, this guy is the most insane athlete on earth. Why isn't he signed? Well, he ended up becoming signed. And that one, I don't understand. Now, I understand why the WWE can't figure out Keith Lee because he doesn't look like their cut, like their vision. But still, how do you not have a successful product with Keith Lee? That just I once, one of the craziest things I ever saw was whatever he's now one of the Viking Warriors, but whatever Raymond Rowe, his Viking Warrior name is, he once did a Canadian Destroyer on Keith Lee, and I went, what did I just see? Like, just 2 amazing athletes, and Keith Lee can do things no athlete should be able to do. And yeah, so
yeah,
those releases really hit me.
I want to know what the logic is behind it, because I like yourself, I also remember when Ember Moon was Athena. To me, they never gave her a chance. She had the look and everything. She's one of them that should have been. Keith Lee is beyond. I find it ridiculous. I want to know what the logic is. And now they're saying he had attitude problems, but it was due to him being frustrated. But rightfully so. I mean, the man wants to show them what he could do. I mean, he doesn't just want to sit down and do bare minimum for a paycheck. He wants to, you know, do his thing. And I'm like that too. Like whenever I do something, whenever I have something to do, I like to do it to the best of my ability. Otherwise, I don't feel like I'm doing it justice. You know.
Right.
So, and they call that attitude problems. It's not attitude problems. It's frustration. And then you had Taya Valkyrie, which shocked me of all, because anybody that watched Taya Valkyrie in the Indies knew that woman was no joke, and I was looking forward to Taya Valkyrie versus Charlotte Flair. But go ahead.
No. One of the craziest. One night they had a wrestling show that they had scheduled at a gay bar, and we didn't know it was going to be that until we got there. So we actually did drag queens in between the intermissions and stuff, rather than just like normal intermissions. We had drag queens perform, and I didn't know that was going to be there until I was there. Then I was like, wait, there's a lot of rainbows in this parking lot. What's going on here? And that's when I learned that the show is actually going to be held at a gay bar. So I was like, well, this is going to be a fun experience. And Taya worked that show that night. And it was the first time I ever saw her live. So I always, if I see her at a wrestling show, I say, yeah, I met you in a gay bar that one time. But that's one of my favorite
Yeah,
stories.
I met Taya Valkyrie when I was in Las Vegas one time. Really cool person. I was actually fortunate to meet John Morrison 6 years prior as well too, and that's another guy I'm frustrated with because I'm like, I don't want to see Johnny Drip Drip. I want to see the Palace of Wisdom John Morrison, that guy that
Yeah,
the
Johnny
had a
Mundo.
lot, that has a lot of potential. And I know, yeah, and we know he has a lot of potential because I mean, look what he did on Lucha Underground and Impact and AAA. I mean,
I
Miz said
remember when
he's the
he was new.
Marginetti.
When he was on Tough Enough, the thing that stood now everybody does this, so it doesn't mean anything anymore. But I remember the thing that stood out about him was that he could do a standing shooting star press, and when he did that, everybody was like, "Holy crap, this guy is going to be amazing!" When he was on Tough Enough, and sure enough, he was. Just as long as he's not in the WWE, he is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And you know the funny thing is, Miz called him the Marginetti of the tag team, but I'm like, when I saw what he did in okay, Miz would have won a title belt. Miz would have won the title belt in Impact. I would give him that. But when I saw what John Morrison did in AAA and Lucha Underground, I'm like,
Right.
if Miz was put in this situation, Miz would have been killed. Like I could never see Miz going over a Brian Cage or a Pentagon Zero in Lucha Underground. Those
Yeah.
men would have destroyed him.
Yeah.
And I definitely not AAA.
No, yeah.
So, and I'm not
he would not have been a good fit for AAA.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say he's a bad wrestler. No, Miz is great on him. He's golden on the mic. Don't get me wrong. But outside of that, places where John Morrison has been, I just can't see the Miz being successful as well. That's just my opinion. Maybe somebody else has a differing opinion, but that's just my thing. But I'll just have to really and truly with these releases, I'll just have to see where it goes. Quite frankly, some of them I'm not surprised. I'm not too hung up about, like April Marie. Okay, it is what it is. But some of them, I just think that Vince needs to and the gang needs to just sit down and be patient and look closely and concentrate because some people it's not going to be overnight. You got to work with some people, and hopefully they find that sooner. I mean, I don't think WWE is going to go anywhere. I don't want them to go out of business, but I just want to do better, But look at me rambling about what they're doing. So yeah, man. So the Indies now, man. You say you're in the Indies. I actually saw you were watching Reverse the Curse.
Yeah.
And you mentioned some names like Tina San Antonio and so on. So what are some indies that you absolutely enjoy? What are some that you actually, whenever you hear a show, you're like, you know what, be quiet and just take my money?
So I have the IWTV subscription. So that usually takes care of a lot of things, and it's $10 a month. And if you can do that, it's really you get a lot out of what you put into it. So Beyond Wrestling is a great company, but you kind of expect them to be. The one that I'm going to, of course, be a homer for Texas because that's what I do. But New Texas Pro is putting out some amazing things. Heavy Metal Wrestling in San Antonio does some awesome stuff. And I'm actually wearing my Wrestle Rave t-shirt. This is my last show that I went to Houston for. The main event was Aaron Mercer, who has been building up a lot of buzz over himself the last year. He took on Gary J. And if you're not familiar with Gary J, he is one of the best in-ring workers in the world. And so, that was a pretty cool show. So outside of Texas, I'm not sure what y'all's opinions are on the deathmatch culture, but I'm a big fan of the ICW No Holds Bar, where they do the Inside the Pit. And what's crazy is I remember going to a lucha show because I do a lot of lucha shows, and met this really sweet luchadora, and I switched to Spanish because her English isn't very strong, and I was like, oh, this person's so sweet, and it was Sadika, who is considered to be one of the craziest unhinged wrestlers out there. My favorite Sadika story is she was facing John Wayne Murdoch, and one of the great stories. I did not see this one personally, but she told him, "I hope you'll be a man about this match that we're about to have." But there was a Sadika was wrestling, and everybody stands during her match because she is going to fight out in the crowd, and you don't want to die. And so she's wrestling John Wayne Murdoch over in front of us, and there is literally one person sitting down, and everybody else is standing ready to run for their lives because that's what you do during her matches. And so this one person that's sitting, she's going to prepare her door glass or whatever she's going to use as a weapon. She takes the one chair from the person who's sitting. That's who she is. She took, this one person sitting down. Oh no, you're not. That's the first person she took the chair from.
Wow, that's something. But I think it's something with like, unless it's like reality of wrestling or New Texas Pro, I think it's something where if like the front row is gonna get messed up. Because I remember like 6 years ago, I went to ACW in Austin, Texas.
Austin, yeah, Anarchy, yeah.
And they were one of the first things they said at the first show I went to was, and they probably said the second show too, was, when you see the wrestlers coming your way, move.
Yes.
Me being one that follows orders, I moved. By the end of that whole show, the whole front row was in disarray. Like chairs were scattered and whatnot. I was like, wow, this is crazy. But it was definitely a great show.
We also had GCW come to Dallas this year, and so I saw them, and I was front row for that, and I wasn't thinking. I had on my shorts and my sandals. Not a good combination at GCW. So during Sadika and Schlack, of those two wrestled, and it was insane. Somebody's chair actually got broken during that match. They could not sit down for the rest of the show.
Wow. Well, hopefully I get the chance to check out another show in Texas, whether it's reality or wrestling or New Texas Pro or even Lucha Brutal.
Oh yeah, Lucha Brutal. They started running out of this. They call it the trailer park, but it's like a bar in the middle of downtown Fort Worth. It's really, really nice. I went there for the last show. They bring in some good talent.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to make sure when I go down there I get a chance to see what it is, because I've only seen like 2 shows, and that was from ACW, which is pretty good. But hopefully I get to see more stuff and whatnot. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Kathy, because I know she has some questions for you, and y'all are probably gonna talk about Rachel Rose and bending the knee. So Kathy, go ahead.
How'd you know? All right, thanks, Remy. Hey, Justin, what's going on this Sunday evening?
Hi.
How's your Sunday evening so far?
Well, it's pretty decent. I got done with the Beyond Wrestling show, and kids are bathed and in their pajamas, ready to go.
Awesome. Yeah, so like Remy mentioned, we're both Rachel Rose fans, and we have bended the knee. We've bent the knee.
That is correct.
Past tense, yeah, bent the knee at shows. We were actually at the same show, and we bent the knee for her entrance. So, what made you a Rachel Rose fan?
This is crazy. So she's gone by a couple names. Kira and Maya, Shiva Queen. She's trained a lot of the wrestlers, especially the female wrestlers down in Houston, and pretty much anybody in Texas. She's helped train, and she had, I believe, a knee replacement, and there was a benefit show that we had for her. And this is back when she was doing the she was the hairstylist for Kiefer Bartek, who runs New Texas Pro, and Cam. I don't know what Cam's last name is, but he's incredibly talented. He is the current Pele Pro champion, and so that was back when she was wearing the glasses. So I was like, oh, who's this? Who's this new person wearing the glasses I'm not familiar with? And so I kind of watched her growth, and her first ever match was streamed live. It was at Heavy Metal Wrestling. It was being streamed live on Twitch, and it was against Alex Gracia, whom you all probably know from AEW. She's going to be part of the new WoW roster. And I watched Rochelle, and I said, holy crap, is this your first match? I even DM'd her. Like, was that your first match? Because she was so advanced and so beyond what she should be doing for her first match. I was like, wow, you really, really brought it. And I've just always enjoyed getting to watch her. She's got some of the best facial expressions. She's always a meme waiting to happen. And she's very advanced, very good, and very good kid.
Yeah, your fandom's a little bit before mine because I started so in 2019. So I'm a big Paige fan, and I'd heard Saraya Knight was going to be at Row on the Rise. So I was like, oh, cool, Mama Knight's going to be there, Paige's mom. So I went to Row on the Rise in 2019, and that's when I saw Rachel Rose and Roxy and Insidious One and Phoebe and like a bunch of people that I 2-3 years later I still support and watch. So yeah, I was like, she was in a match with so it was Heather Monroe, Rachel Rose, Alabama, and so versus AQA, Jenna Lynn, and then they needed a surprise person. They needed another person, and the other person was Saraya Knight.
Oh, goodness.
So that match had Rachel Rose in it, and she had me at like, "Don't touch my hair!" Like she was still like the
yes, yeah.
And
she was very good with that.
She had me at like, "Don't touch my hair." She kept saying like, "Don't touch my hair" the whole match. So I was like, I like this person. And then her family was actually behind me, and they were hooping and hollering for her, and I was like, who is this? Like they're just, and she talked to me after the show for a little bit, and then like I just started watching her and just became a fan of hers. And then actually, like, you end up turning into friends because like you could talk to them after the show.
Yeah.
And she always sees me, and she knows a supporter and stuff. And then when Bryant went from fan to cameraman, he was the OG, like been the near,
yeah.
So somebody had to take his place, not take his place, but while he's doing his photography thing. So like me and you kind of took over it. And it was pretty funny when you're like, well, who's gonna bend the knee when we're not there,
That was funny.
That was pretty funny. But I was like, there was a guy that actually did it, so like he's keeping it going, so that's awesome.
That was good.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. So I saw in your Twitter page you went to a Friends set, like the set of Friends. Where was that?
Okay, yeah. So this is really cool. So they're doing something called the Friends Experience. So they also do one of these with The Office, but there was one in New York most recently. But it's currently in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So it's all replicas of the Friends set. So the couch in the opening credits, Chandler and Joey's, I guess, recliners. There we go. Forgot the word recliner for a second. You can, let's see, what else is there? There's a replica of Monica's apartment and a replica of the outside the Central Perk and the guitar next to it where you can make poses and stuff. It was really, really cool. Ended up taking Mrs. Ruff there. She's the big Friends fan. I just geek out over everything, but she's the really big Friends fan. I ended up taking her out for that. That was really fun.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool. I was like, I don't think, because I think you can go like, I think it's in Los Angeles. You can go to the actual set, and I was like, I don't think he's really there. I was like,
No,
he's in Texas.
yeah, they brought one into the Dallas Fort Worth area, so I they were talking about it, and I had them email me when it was ready, and it was finally ready, so I got my tickets as soon as I could.
That's awesome. So you and Remy were kind of talking about all the WWE releases, and I know a lot of them have been in Texas before, and I haven't got to see them yet. So who do you think wants to go back to Texas and wrestle in the Indies?
Well, this person wouldn't have been there before, but now that she's engaged to Keith Lee, we're going to have a lot of Mia Yim. And the more Mia Yim you have on Indies, the richer it's going to be. And especially if she spends any time in reality of wrestling, DFW All Pro, Thunder Rosa School, and Jazz Dog Pound Dojo in San Antonio, the more Mia Yim you have in Texas, the better it's going to be. And I think we're going to see a lot more of her. You were talking about being behind Rochelle's family. I remember one time Keith Lee's mama being in the crowd, and I was like, "Ooh, y'all better make sure that he wins." It was a really crazy match. She's very, very passionate for her son.
Yeah, it was really cool to find out Keith Lee because I started watching like ROW in like 2019, so I didn't really know all that stuff. I was like, oh wow, like it's amazing to see like Fala Ball was in ROW and like Keith Lee was there, and I was like, wow, that's like interesting to know like where they kind of started from. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and with hopefully Athena or whatever iteration of her name she chooses to use. Hopefully, she comes back and makes a big presence. Her and her husband Matt Palmer, who works as the Pro Wrestling Monster Hunter right now. Uh, he They have been spent some time working with a school in Denton, so hopefully they'll be able to do some stuff there. And the more that they are involved in wrestling, the better.
Yeah, for some people that don't know, Athena is Ember Moon, and she did show up a couple of times. She had a meet and greet at ROW when she had her Achilles injury, so I got to meet her. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool if she comes back to Texas wrestling. And I also saw, like I said before, I got into Texas wrestling. Scarlett Bordeaux was there for one of the ladies' night out shows, so that'd be cool if she comes back.
Yeah, that's
And
somebody on my
then
list I haven't ever seen. Her
yeah,
and
I would
Cross I haven't ever seen
like to
live.
see her too. And then Taya Valkyrie had done a few shows before she went into NXT, so that would be another one. I think it was
You
for like
know,
Hurricane Pro, so that would be pretty awesome to see
and
her again.
also she has quite the following in the lucha world, and
Yeah,
I've I'm kind of bilingual, but like I can speak enough Spanish to know what's going on in a lucha show. So I end up going to lucha shows. So I've seen her wrestle a couple times there. Usually they'll bring her and wrestle somebody like Thunder Rosa. Um, and I think it was her and Thunder Rosa I watched, and it was whenever the two of them are together, it's magic in the ring. So hopefully maybe they bring in Taya to AEW, and her and Thunder Rosa can have a nice series, because those two, they don't hold back, and they are very, very good in the ring together.
yeah, that would be really cool to watch. WWE sometimes drops the ball, but all these people will bounce back, and hopefully we get to see them in Texas because that would be really cool.
Yes.
So before I turn it over to Rob, I have one more thing. So speaking of New Texas Pro and how we both went to that show, there's an upcoming show called 25 Lighters, and you're actually sponsoring Promise Braxton. She's making her debut there.
Yes.
So how excited are you for that show that's coming up?
Well, I'm not going to be able to attend, but New Texas is doing some amazing, amazing work, and they have some of the best kept secrets. They have Brian Keith as their champion, and Brian Keith went up to Minnesota a couple weeks ago and had one of the hottest match on the Indies against Kevin Koo, who's an amazing talent. And Q, the mysterious Q, is one of the best talents that I think he's right there on the cusp of. Some people in the world know him, but more are going to know him, and he'll be kind of in that same area that Brian Keith is now. And then there's T-Ray. T-Ray called himself the best kept secret in Texas, and it was kind of cocky when it started it, but he proved himself to be the truth. And then with Roxy and Rachel and some of the up and coming talent who is going to be featured on the women of I guess it's Women of Wrestling, the WoW show. It's a good time for Texas wrestling. But yeah, No Promise is amazing. I remember the first time I watched her, it was at a student show up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I said, "Oh wow, she's got presence. She is amazing. She is just this." She's awesome. Like she reminds me of Nicole Savoy a couple of years ago.
Yeah, back to talking about like the people that got released. I am really happy for AQA to come back. I hope she comes back. Like,
Oh
please
yes,
come back and have another match with Hyon so I can actually be there in person. Because I
yes,
mean, it's got like 37 million YouTube views on that cage match. It's like, oh, please recreate history again. Come on.
yes. She is such a natural talent as well.
Yeah.
Actually, she's the reason why I just decided, you know what? Forget it. I'm just gonna start ringside steady because I saw that match and I'd never seen a female. I'd never really seen a female do a shooting star press off the top rope. And I was just amazed by it. I mean, to my knowledge, there's only been 3 females in all professional wrestling that have ever done that. One of them unfortunately died, and the other one, and 2 out of 3 of those women are Asian, and they're from I think
Oh,
one is
okay.
from China, one is from Japan,
Okay.
and the third one was AQA, who was American. So I was like, man, that's so amazing. And then afterwards, and I'm not hating on anybody. I don't hate on any other podcasts, on any other podcasters. I ain't got no beef for nobody except one podcaster. And I'm just saying that because in case y'all see me spaz out on somebody, know it's that one person. But yeah, I was like, I saw her on a podcast the following Tuesday. That was Sunday. I saw that, and then Tuesday she was on a podcast, and I was like, you know what? I should have been doing this interview. This is something I should have been doing. And I was like, boom. Hey, Kathy, you still available like you said you are? All right. Well, we're about to get the ball rolling. The rest was history. Yeah. My bad, Kathy.
Yeah, we've had AQA on the show, and I was driving from a show in Houston. I was like, I can't miss this. So I had of course, hands free. It's in my car. Like I wasn't on the phone for like 2 or 3 hours driving, but yeah, I was like, I can't miss this. So you can hear in the background, I was driving, like the road was making noise as I'm trying to interview her, and I was like, wow, that's like pretty crazy. But I had to be there. I couldn't miss it. It's AQA.
Oh yeah, she's so talented.
Well, before I turn it over to Rob, just want to say thank you for coming on the show, and hopefully I'll see you at another show down the road.
Yes, I'm going to try and travel a little bit more because I can only do so much at the Houston Premier Arena. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and go to Reality of Wrestling and some of the other places in Houston. So you seem to frequent Reality of Wrestling, so our paths will probably cross there.
Yeah, I'm actually going next Saturday. They have a show on the 13th. And
Yeah.
then I might go to the 25 lighters when I'm thinking about it, because Roxy was like, "Are you gonna go?" I was like, "Maybe."
Well, Thanksgiving weekend is a really bad time to travel, and especially Small
Yeah,
Business
that's true
Saturday.
too.
That's
Yeah.
always a kind of a family day for us. So yeah, we'll be able to go to that one. But
Yeah, I might go. I'm still thinking about it. I still have time. I'm going on the 13th because it's like a kind of a birthday present to myself. My birthday's on the 19th.
Oh,
So
that's
I was
right.
like, yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna try to go do something. I started doing like wrestling shows to treat myself for my birthday. So
Yeah.
they always have one in November. So I was like, I'm gonna go do that. But I might do another one for Thanksgiving. But yeah, the traffic might be bad. Or maybe not.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right, Rob, your turn.
All right, sweet. Thanks, Kathy. So what's going on, man? How's your day today, man?
It's pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm well, I mean, just doing the podcast, man, hanging out, chatting, man, having a blast. How about
Yeah.
yourself, man? You having a blast?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, this is great. I love this. This is like captive audience.
There you go. That's right. So, man, I was doing a little research, man. You wrote down a little indie list, man, of people you want to see. What was it for 2022?
Yeah. I call it my indie bucket list.
Your indie bucket list. So, do you usually do one every year, or do you just,
No, that is my indie bucket list for the year. I actually got to cross a couple of names off of it this year. Yeah,
oh, sweet.
I had an original one when I first started watching indie wrestling, and then I saw Facade at GCW this year, and I was like, I've seen everybody on this list, so I'm done. I got to create a new one. So I ended up creating my new one.
Oh, that's right. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I like a lot of those names on that list. I was looking at that, I was like, woo, yeah, that's some awesome names on that list. I was like, man.
Yeah, it's pretty ambitious, but you never know until you ask.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, hey, Texas is a big. It's a big state. You know what I mean? Everything's bigger in Texas. So
Yeah,
they might as well go on down there. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, because I'm always jealous of Kathy. Like Remy said and stuff. Yeah, she always like, yeah, I'm going here, Texas and stuff. I'm like, oh, y'all have so much indie wrestling, awesome talent down there. It's like, oh, I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
hmm.
So do you got? Yeah, you haven't gone to any Mission Pro shows or anything?
I was gonna go. Oh yeah, no. I've been to a couple Mission Pros. Matter of fact, we're about a year ago from the first one that I went to. So I went to the one that had the person. I think she is now Zoe Stark in NXT, and Rochelle were the main event of that one. It was and then there was La Rosa Negra, is one of the best talented people I've ever seen in my life. She is so amazing, and what's really crazy about her is that when you meet her outside the ring, she is the sweetest, most wonderful person, and then when she walks to the ring, you're like, I'm going to die. She is going to just rip my head off of me.
That's right.
But yeah,
Oh
no,
man, that's
I've got to
awesome.
see a couple of because I was there I think it was December was when they brought in Medusa, and
Mm.
they were doing the finals of the championship, and which Rosa Negra ended up winning, and they brought in Medusa to hand the belt, and somebody there you do the picture in front of the ring with them, and I heard somebody say, "You want to come up here and get your picture, Medusa?" I'm like, "Wait, Medusa? Whoa, is that Medusa?" So she was not in official capacity, so I didn't go up and get my picture with her. But I was like, "That's Medusa."
That's right. That's pretty awesome, man. That's awesome. So, where is like the farthest you have traveled? To go see some wrestling.
So the farthest I traveled is probably Houston. I have a 5 hour limit for my traveling.
Okay.
Um, I did go to Colorado City, but if you're ever in Colorado City, you're in the wrong place. So yeah, I went to Colorado. It's about 3 hours west. There's not even a Buc-ee's on the way there, so it was not that exciting of a trip. But sometimes the journey is kind of the most fun part. Now, I am going to be flying in January. This is the first time I've ever done this. I'm going to be flying to, there's a company in Tampa called GCW, and they're having a women's, I guess, cup or tournament. They're bringing in the names. They're bringing in Billy Starks and Laney Luck, and oh man, I completely blanked out on. Oh, they're bringing in a Killa Kate, who I literally watched her first match, like literal first match I watched. So I'm going out to support her. And my favorite wrestler is somebody who was getting a lot of buzz today, Jordan Blade, out of the DMV area, and Texas isn't bringing her in yet. So I'm like, shoot, I ran into a little bit of money, so let me fly out to Tampa and have a weekend where I get to see some of my favorite wrestlers.
That's right. Now, if you're into the women's wrestling stuff, I recommend checking out CCW. If I think they were on Title Match Network last night or
Okay,
whatever. They might be
yeah,
on
they had
either.
a really big show this past weekend.
Yeah, I was there. There are I'm with one CW. There are sister promotions. So it was
Oh, okay.
they went and then it was us and then they went and then us. Like that
Oh,
throughout
that's
the
cool.
night.
Okay, because I know that they
Yeah, it was
had
pretty cool.
Max and the Renegade
Oh, yeah.
Sisters, and yeah, no, that's been that show's had a lot of buzz from them.
Oh yeah. I actually got to ref the main event and stuff for that match that
Oh,
night.
that's cool.
Last night, so that was pretty cool. You know what I mean? Yeah, I got to meet Maxie and Pale. I got to meet all of them. They're pretty cool. You know what I mean? Go
Yeah.
out there, tearing it up. Yeah. So if you ever check it out, man, you definitely got to check that show out. Those
Okay,
matches,
cool.
they tore it up.
Yeah, no,
So I gotta ask, man,
yeah,
you're a Phillies fan. I seen you're a
oh,
Phillies fan.
yeah.
You're out there in Texas. Now, how did that come to be, man? Like, I've been to Phillies games and stuff. I've actually been to a Phillies game when they were in Veterans Stadium back in the day. I seen it was the '94 or '93 Phillies, and they played the Giants, and Barry Bonds hit a home run. I remember that.
Oh, nice.
So, how long have you been a Phillies fan? How did that happen?
Well, I grew up in Arlington, Texas, and this is going to sound really harsh, but the Rangers never gave me a reason to be a fan, really. So I chose the Phillies when I reached early adulthood and said, we're done with this. Y'all aren't ever going to work on anything or try and have a competitive team. So I'm going to try being a Phillies fan for a couple of years. And we've been about, 20 years as a Phillies fan. So, but you mentioned the '93 team. I fell in love with the '93 team. That was an amazing team, and thus started my love of all things Philly.
That's right. Yeah, I remember going there to Veterans Stadium. You would see like stray cats all around and stuff. You know what I mean? It was heard the
Sounds
rumors
about right.
like. It was like, yeah. You know why they have all the stray cats? They eat the rats. So either you want the cats or you want the rats. What do you want? It's like, yeah, let's have some cats over
Yeah.
here. We would rather have that, yeah. But yeah, their new stadium stuff, it's pretty cool. I haven't been to the Eagles, the link yet. I haven't seen that, but I've seen on the outside. Yeah, it's pretty cool. All
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah, Wells Fargo, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Now I can't complain, because I'm a Baltimore Orioles and a Miami Dolphins fan, so I definitely can't pick winners. So what I mean, my sports hosts are just because by the time Baltimore got a football team, I'd already been I'm a
Right.
teenager, I'm all that, and I've already all my fandom's been going into the Dolphins. Plus Dan Marino's and Ace Ventura, so I mean, come on now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Understood.
That's cool. That's cool. So what are your favorite matches that you've seen in person?
I'm in person. I've had the chance to see some amazing matches live. There was trying to think. Well, one of them was the one I mentioned earlier of Raymond Rowe. When again, I think he's Eric of the Viking Warriors, having doing a Canadian destroyer on Keith Lee, and just the entire crowd just go stand up like, wait, what did we just see? And it was the main event, so it was like 12:30 at night. We're all like groggy anyway. One now this year I've had the chance to be live for 3 amazing matches. So one night they decided to have a diversity a night. Now there's two Jackson Stones. There's one JACKSON in Chicago area, and then there's a JAXON in the Dallas Fort Worth area. He and a couple of other people got together and they did a diversity night. And there were some amazing names on the show, like AC Mack and Trisha Dora and Vert Vixen. And one of the matches was Darius Lockhart and Sugar Dunkerton against Willow Nightingale and Brooke Valentine. And let me tell you, these two did amazing. And Darius and Suge were the heels most of the match, and I think they had Brooke do the face in peril during the match. Of kept trying to crawl over to Willow, and just as soon as she got there, either Suge or Darius would come over and stop it, and they would be back to square one. So that's one of the best. The other was, we talked about Brian Keith. Brian Keith has got to be one of the most versatile wrestlers in the U.S., and the world is kind of discovering him, and it's great to watch that that trajectory. Watch the world wake up to him. Kathy, you were here for this one too. It was him against Davey Richards.
Davey Richards. Yep.
That is like top 3 matches I've ever seen live. The two of them just had amazing chemistry. And now I think the feud of the year is definitely Davey Richards versus Technology, because like if you every once in a while you get a tweet of him being like, I can't figure out this tic tac thing, and one of his students will be like, I'll help you out, coach. But he has been very high on a couple of guys ever since he got the chance to wrestle him, and Brian was one of the highest. Mike Bennett has also been very high on Brian. He wrestled him in Abilene earlier this year, and just the two of those guys have fallen in love with Brian Keith. But yeah, Davey Richards versus Brian Keith was one of the best things I've ever seen live. And then at GCW, the opener was Ninja Mac against Joey Janela, and Ninja Mac maybe he's a once in a unique. He's so unique, and I remember watching him, pre-mask, and when he was I think he was a capoeira kid, and he is amazing for what he does. Like, you don't say, oh, this is going to be a great match for ring psychology. You're like, this guy's going to do some flippy floppy stuff, and it's going to be really entertaining. And so he wrestled Joey Janela, and the two of them they played to each other's strengths, and the crowd was just going insane. And there was a really, really hot crowd for the GCW show. So those are probably like my 3 of the year that I would put there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you can't argue with those matches right there. You know what I mean? Yes, they're pretty good. Whatever, man. Oh man. But yeah, before I pass it on back to Remy, I do want to say, thank you for coming on at short notice or whatever, taking time out of your day or whatever, coming on, chatting with us, man. Definitely had a blast. You know what I mean? I wish you nothing but the best, of whatever you do. I hope you see even more awesome matches coming in the future, and you get that bucket list. I hope you get all your names checked off and all that, and then you got to start a new list next year, man.
Indeed, I hope so.
That's right.
Justin, thank you very much for, like I said, I know it was last minute when we contacted you, but thank you very much for, just taking time out of your busy schedule to be on our show. We really and truly appreciate it. Before we shut down the show, where can fans find you on social media when you want to talk wrestling and all that?
The app, my app name is Justin Ruff. That's my legal name. That's the best way you can reach me. I'm on Instagram at justinruff.tx or justinrufftx. So I'm, if you liked it, feel free to follow me. I talk a lot about indie wrestling, so hope you're ready for that.
Awesome. But with that being said, it's about time for us to shut down this show. My eyelids are getting a bit sleepy, so that means it's time for a nap.
Oh yeah.
But before I do so, yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock. But before I do so, Kathy Knight, where can fans find you on social media when they want to talk wrestling? Becky Lynch, Paige, all that good stuff.
So I'm on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Discord on DLU70517.
Awesome. She's everywhere. Rob Bass, the Mel Gibson to my Donnie Glover, the Eminem to my Royce the 5'9", and the Bubba Ray to my Devon. Where can fans find you when they want to talk wrestling, when they want to find out when your next refereeing appearances, and where can bookers and promoters find you when they want to book you for their shows?
All right, you can find me at Rob underscore base 82 at Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch, and then YouTube, Facebook is Rob Base.
Awesome. And if you want to find me on social media, not that I have anything cool to say, but who knows, maybe you'll get lucky. You can find me on Twitter under at the Remy Blue. You can also find me on Facebook under the alias Remy Blue. And our podcast is also on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram under at Ringside Society. We also have a Facebook group called Ringside Society. Just go ahead, you can go ahead and join us there. We're also on Twitch as well under at Ringside Society 2019. And we're also on Spotify now, yes, and Google Podcasts. Just type in Ringside Society, you'll find us. You'll be able to listen to our past episodes from season 1 and season 2, and also some episodes from season 3. We're still working on getting the rest of them on Spotify, but we're getting there. And we also have a YouTube channel. Yes, YouTube is actually one of our platforms where we actually stream, and just so, and that's actually where you'll find this episode, the Jasmine Allure episode, Maddie Rinkowski, no, not Thunder Rosa, Anakin Rosa, who is Thunder Rosa's son, and many others as well. So definitely follow us on YouTube. Once you type in Ringside Society, once you see that sweet, oh my gosh, dark blue and light blue, yin and yang sign with the blue flames around it, that's us. Go ahead and subscribe. Don't personalize, subscribe to all, because we got a lot more cool videos coming as well. But one more thing. We also have a Teespring store. Yes, we also sell Ringside Society merch. We have all types of merch. We have shirts. We have tank tops. We also have the hoodies for the hoodie season and long sleeve shirts. So definitely go ahead and check us out. We also have coffee mugs for your favorite warm beverage. So definitely check us out. Grab some Ringside Society merch. All proceeds from those sales go back into keeping this show afloat. It does not go back into our pockets. We assure that. We assure you of that. But with that being said, we just want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight live. We really and truly appreciate it. To those of y'all that are going to listen to us later on, thank you very much in advance. And those of y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away, well, like myself at a Golden Corral and Kathy Knight at a Vignette store at Cafe Du Monde. I don't know if I got that right. And Rob Bass at a taco festival. We ain't going anywhere for a while.
They hate us because they ain't us.
And we ain't stopping. So with that being said, we just want everybody to know that we here at Ringside Society understand that everybody and their grandparents and their parents have a podcast. But we're not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. Hey, yo, Rob Bass, Kathy Knight, one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, and one time for our guest, Justin Ruff, who is traveling all over the country to see some of the best independent wrestling shows. What type of podcast are we?
All right. 3, 2, 1. We're a Wrestling Fans Podcast.
That's right, we're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society, and we'll be back this month. We will be back this Monday with another fantastic, amazing, impressive, outstanding, whatever adjective you want to use, guest, and another great show. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.
See y'all. Stay classy, Delaware.
Bye.